Kevin Sinclair here with Irish Illustrated at irishillustrated.com. And this weekend, a whole host of prospects heading to South Bend for the spring game. I dug up who I think are the three most important recruits heading to South Bend this weekend, reviewing their film, heading into the big recruiting event. Let's dig in. Starting with top 100 tackle Monroe Freeling out of South Carolina. This is a guy who moves really well. Very little to no bad weight at about 6'7", 285 pounds. Kind of has the feet of some tight ends you see out there. Here he has this really good drive blocking after really explosive ability off the snap, very quick for step. And then, as you can see here, really good mobility and pulling from the left tackle across to the right side of the football. And then, just his drive blocking tenacity and finishing blocks, as you saw there, is something that really jumps out at me. So really good feet, very nimble, and a very good drive blocker. And he can get out in space by pulling, and very good at closing in space and then finishing. So kind of really well-rounded there. As you can see, a closer look at Freeling. That's what a blue chip tackle looks like from a physical standpoint. Again, very trim, very nimble. Does a really good job of drive blocking here, creating some space for his running back. And then we'll look at him sort of getting after linebackers here, firing uphill, closing in space, and finishing the block. And again, Freeling here just showing you how you can sort of close in space, which is more difficult than it looks on film oftentimes. And here he is attacking a linebacker again. Freeling's got, everything necessary to be a blue chip tackle. And then next up, Jaden Greathouse. This is a 4-star wide receiver out of one of the best programs in the country in Austin Westlake. And first thing that sort of shows up for me is his toughness. Very scrappy, feisty wide receiver who's also a star basketball player and a great student. So he's just a perfect fit for a school like Notre Dame. Here he is getting after 4-star cornerback Ryan Yates with a block. And then on the very next play here, he is burning him here upfield for a 50-plus yard touchdown. And this was in the state championship. Greathouse was phenomenal with multiple touchdowns in that game. Yates committed to LSU. Greathouse having no problem putting up big yardage and scores in that game. This was in the semifinal contest against Katy. Good contested ball guy, very good red zone receiver. So same with that toughness as a blocker and his overall physicality. That shows up in contested ball situations as well. Here he is on a slant route. Very good on sort of the underneath stuff, whether it's hitches and slants and short comebacks and, quick outs. Does a really good job on all of that. Not really built like your prototype possession receiver. He's not, 6'3" or 6'4", but he can kind of play that role just out of pure gritty toughness and hard work. A hard-nosed wide receiver. And of course, he's playing with 5-star Cade Klubnik, a quarterback last season. Again, here he is blocking out on the perimeter, getting Ryan Yates out of bounds on that play. And then here he is again, setting up a nice running lane for his running back in the state championship game versus Denton Geyer. And then with all that toughness, wearing down his opponent and all those passes underneath across the middle of the field, Greathouse can take you the distance as well. And then, of course, slot receiver Rodney Gallagher out of Pennsylvania. This is another top 150 recruit. You have to use your imagination because, of course, he was playing quarterback last year. But here's Gallagher, a whole lot of speed. He's a 2-sport star, getting Power 5 offers in the basketball as well, but he's focusing on football. And here he is again. Very good change of direction, very shifty, twitchy, and that's why they like him at the slot receiver position. Also a great student, mature young man, and here you see just making a cut, exploding out of that break and getting upfield. So he's quite creative with the football, patient behind the line of scrimmage until he can find an opening, and then he is lightning through that crease, and through those creases he diagnoses. And he also played on the defensive side of the ball as a defensive back, made a lot of savvy plays, but of course he's being recruited on the offensive side of the ball by Notre Dame. He'll be on campus this weekend for the spring game, and as you can see here, just dynamic with the ball in his hands, a really exciting playmaker and a heck of a good kid as well. So Notre Dame lands a big-time receiver in Braylon James, a major splash at the wide receiver position, and now they're set to host two of the best receivers on the board in Jaden Greathouse and Rodney Gallagher. We just saw what they can do on the field. And then there's Monroe Freeling. He reminds me of Wyatt Milam from a couple classes ago, that big fella from West Virginia. Going to be interested to see how he makes out with that recruitment. But that's it for me. Stay tuned to Irish Illustrated through this weekend and beyond, as we'll have plenty of coverage on this recruiting event. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kevin Sinclair.